Welcome everyone. Today we'll talk about history of microbiology. This is Srinivas Rao, Assistant Professor, Department of Microbiology, Dr. BRR College, Jadcherla. Today we'll talk on history of microbiology. When you see the history is a common topic which delves in each and every subject. When you heard the term history, we often think about situations and things which are happened in the past till now. Everybody have a knowledge on history. History means, let's say, a political history. Everybody are aware on political history. But history is a history for everything. Every subject has its own history. How it has originated, how it has evolved, how it has came to light, which kind of changes are occurred. And so that today it is like this. The history tells and history conveys us how we are today, how we may be previously. The gap between means the time between the past and the present, we call it as an history. Now we will see the history of globe. We all know that the earth is formed. We all know that the earth is formed. You see, we all know that the earth is formed 4.5 billion years ago. You see here. You can see here. You can see. Earth is formed 4.5 billion years ago. All the historians and everybody says about when the earth was formed and all the things. We know very well. We know very well how earth was evolved, how it came to light, what are the changes are happened since 3.5 billion years ago. The whole topic we learn in the concept of evolution. We'll talk in the concept of evolution. You see, this is almost 4.5 billion years. And with the next billion years, when you see here a first cellular form, when you see here, this is a first cellular form. A first cellular form which was evolved on the globe. A first cellular form which was evolved on the globe are microbes. There's a great history, and the historians talks. They are microbes. These are microbes. So after formation of the earth, the first cellular forms which are occurred on the earth are microbes. Now we are talking microbes are the oldest organisms which are on globe. But the thing is, the globe came to know about occurrence of microorganisms after the evolution of earth, after the formation of the earth. And to say Microorganisms are the first organisms on the globe. It came very lately after invention of most of the organisms which are formed after microorganisms. You know why? Yes. You know that microorganisms have evolved diversified to occupy virtually every habit on Earth. They are from oceanic thermal vents to the coldest Arctic ice. They are occupied, they spread, they laid, they are very well diversified cellular organisms on the globe. But it came to light very lately because they are very tiny organisms, because they are microorganisms, because they are microorganisms. If they are not a microorganisms, if they are not a microorganisms, if they are not a microorganisms, we would have identified them very early rather than these organisms. So why this name has come to these organisms? Why this name has come to these organisms? This name has come to these organisms because I'll share it now. We'll go to, yeah, we'll go to, yeah. Now I'm going to write something here. Yeah, or else I'm going to share you paint. I'm going to share you paint so that we can write in the paint the pictures, and we'll talk about history of microorganisms in the paint. Okay. Share the screen of PPT. Where is this? Yes. Yeah. I'll share this. Yeah. Yeah, nice. Yeah, we all know that history. Yes. This will talk about 4.5 billion years ago, and we have cellular forms. Cellular forms, we can call them as microbes, and they occupied on the earth from oceanic geothermal vents into the Arctic ice. So now, what is geothermal vents? So we talk about geothermal vents. What are they? Geothermal vents. What are the geothermal vents? When you see, for example, this is the sea structure, surface of the sea. This is called as continental slope. This is called as shelf. This is axial plane. And this is called as trench. Trench. What is trench? What is a trench? Trench is nothing but, when you see, the trench is nothing but, trench is a deepest point. Trench is a deepest point on the, what is a trench? Trench is a deepest point. deepest point on ocean. Here the temperature is too much and pressure is too much. Temperature and atmospheric pressure, which is measured in barometers, is too much. Here it is impossible for a living organism to exist and live, but our organisms can live and existed. Recent studies and recent investigations and researches says that most of the microorganisms are living in ocean thermal vents. The temperature is too much, and we have been identified many organisms which are being used very commercially for versatile activities. So what you would like to convey from the history of microbiology? The history after Earth evolution, the organism was evolved. Day to day, we can see we are human beings. We have plants, we have animals, we have everything on the globe. I think you might have imagined how we have originated. You may have some kind of innovative thought how we might have originated. From sixth standard onwards, or 10th standard or 11th standard, we might have studied evolution, how a man, I think we studied about evolution of man from monkey to ape to orangutan to gibbons to chimpanzees to, and we are talking about human beings. It's a chronological and evolutionary changes which are happened in the monkey, and we are formed as an animal today. We are humans today. Means, what is this? It's an evolution of human beings from monkey. But again, monkey, what is a monkey? What are human beings? But now we are at microorganisms. Where are we? We are at microorganisms. We are at microorganisms. Yes, microorganisms came into light after everything was lighted. Why? It's because of not having a proper technology. After invention of the technology and particular tools only, we can able to understand, yes, there is something on the globe which is invisible to our eye. And then our people theorized, excavated, invented, and they thoroughly worked on it, and they came to know that, and they just lighted and they focused a light on invisible organisms, and they call them as microorganisms. And the subjects which deals with microorganisms, we call it as the subject which deals with microorganisms, we call it as microbiology. We call it as microbiology. So what are they? You see, the diversity of cellular microorganisms is best exemplified by their metabolic capabilities. Some carry out respiration, just as animals. Some other perform photosynthesis, like plants, in the amount of carbon dioxide they capture, forming organic matter and releasing oxygen into the atmosphere. Whoa. Here there are two things to be discussed. When our people identified microorganisms, they identified two things here. What are they? First one is, what are they? Some carry out respiration, say metabolic respiration. They carry out respiration. Better I'll write here. They carry out respiration, and another thing is we can see here. They carry out respiration. This is a respiration process. Another one is photosynthesis. So what is respiration and what is photosynthesis? So respiration, it's a general term, everybody aware of respiration. Respiration, everybody, it's usually everybody says inhalation and exhalation of oxygen. Inhalation of the oxygen and release of the carbon dioxide. But it's a cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is nothing but uptaking of nutrients either in the form of ingestion or absorption and digesting the nutrients and undergoing metabolic activities. With this, the organism will synthesize energy called as ATP. This we call as a cellular respiration. Another one is photosynthesis. This is similar to the respiration, but the respiration process usually carried out in animals. But the same process will carry out in plants, but it is a different story. But here, the uptake of nutrients either by absorption or ingestion, and hence from that they acquire energy in the form of ATP. And photosynthesis is nothing but photosynthesis is a process. You all know very well since 6th standard. Photosynthesis is a common chemical synthesis process. Usually plants absorb light in the form of energy. In the form of energy, the energy comes from the sunlight, drives the plants to synthesize ATP. Now this ATP for the plants helpful for the synthesis of sugars like glucose or something else, depends upon the plant. Means here, when you observe microorganisms, the microorganisms are of both types. Some behaves as respiratory organisms, as animals behave. Some microorganisms carry out photosynthesis as animals do. After observing all these things, the taxonomy is confused. What is this? It's a peculiarity. Some are behaving like animals and they are respiring and producing energy. And some are doing photosynthesis. What to do? What should we do? Shall we place them in plants? Shall we place them in animals? It's a confusion among the taxonomies. But here is another constraint. Here is another constraint for the taxonomies to place them either in the category of animals, either in the category of the plants. What is that constraint? The constraint is very simple. Many people, we are talking about a cellular organization, right? It's a cellular organization. It's a cellular organization where we need to talk about a cell. Where we need to talk about a cell. This cell mainly gives an idea of its structure, activity, and behavior. Then, see what the constraint which is set by our people. The constraint is, you see, the constraint is this. We'll see what is a constraint. We'll come to here. This is the major constraint. See, what are microorganisms? These microorganisms are defined as those organisms too small to be seen clearly by the unaided eye. They are generally 1 millimeter or less in diameter. What is the thing over here? Yeah, this was the major constraint. 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 What is the major constraint? The major constraint is with the size. The major constraint is with the size of the organism. What is that size? Size is in less than millimeters. It is small in size, but we cannot see with our eye. And almost most of the time, where they falls in the category of micrometers. They falls in the category of micrometers. Yeah. Micrometers in size. We can see only what we can see. We can expect up to millimeters. Our eye has an ability to see only up to millimeter. But what is this? It's in less than millimeters. See, these are some examples of microorganisms. What do you see? What are these bread molds, photosynthetic molds? What are they? These are some of microbes which can be called as macroscopic microbes. Means we can watch them. We can watch them. You can see them. You can see. You see these things? You can see here. Yeah, we can see here. You can see here. These are bread molds. These are, you can see, these are bread molds. These are bread molds. See, these are bread molds. And these are some photosynthetic microorganisms like cyanobacteria, nostac, anabina. And what they? We can see them macroscopically. So, microbiology is a study of microorganisms, but there are some macroscopic organisms. There are some macroscopic microbes. You can see them. You see? You can see molds on the bread. Everybody at households you can see. And you can see most of the fungi which grows on surfaces of the soil. And we can see some of the mushrooms. Mushrooms we can see which grow on soil. And we can see most of the fungi which grows on soil in the rainy season. What are they? They falls in the category of microorganisms. But which of the organisms we cannot see? Which of the organisms we cannot see? If you want to know all these things, so as our taxonomies, as our taxonomies observed two diversified categories in microorganisms. They can able to undergo, they can able to carry out respiration, and they can able to carry out photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. But even though, because of their tiny size and small cellular structure, we call them as microorganisms. They are bacteria, fungi, algae, protozoa, and we talk about among it virus. We'll talk about virus later. Maybe we not call it as an organism, but all these are of cellular structures. All these are of cellular structures. All these are cellular structures. What are they? Bacteria, fungi, algae, and protozoa. When you see here, there is again confusion. When you see all these things, you can see this algae, and fungi. Both these are sharing characteristics, similar characteristics, similar as plants. And when you see the bacteria, this is bacteria, and you see this bacteria and protozoa, they share the similar characters like animals. But among these four, except bacteria, among these four, except bacteria and few of the protozoans, we can see algae and fungi with the naked eye. We can see fungi and algae with naked eye, but there are exceptions for some of the photosynthetic bacteria. Some of the photosynthetic bacteria. So what is this? This is something peculiar. Why this is a peculiar and something interesting? Because these are invisible and behaving something strange. They are sharing the characteristics of the animals and plants, because we already studied, we have a lot more literature, we have a lot more information regarding the plants and animals and what do they do, how do they do, and everything. But after identifying these small animals, we are worrying, oh, what is this? How they are? What do they do? So it's an interesting and confusion question among the scientists to give information regarding microorganisms. With this, they just came to know about all these things. But one thing we need to talk is, we need to talk about cellular structure. We need to talk about cellular structure of microorganisms. We need to talk about cellular structure. See, What is this? As I said, as I said, as I said, as I said, see, an important breakthrough in microbial taxonomy arose from studies of their cellular architecture. What they made a discovery. They discovered what they discovered. Yes, two possible cells. They discovered two possible cells. You all know very well about cell. Do you know how the cellular structure and cell name has come? Again, it is a very interesting story. How many of you know about cellular? Cellular and cell is a common word, which means it is a room which is constructed by a wall, four sides. In common word, we call it as jail. In the jail, how the cabins for a culprit to keep. It's a four-walled structure. It's a four-wall structure where you won't have a scope for culprit to escape from the structure. When Robert Hooke made observations by taking plant leaf structures. Robert Hooke. He has taken plant leaf structures observed by using his microscope. His simple microscope. Simple microscope. Robert Hooke was the first man who observed the leaf structure by using simple microscope, and he identified some of the structures like this. These structures resembled like cellular cell, which is used to keep the antisocial elements in the police stations. By remembering this particular structure, Robert Hooke named it as cell. This is how a name cell came. Fine. Then you can see on the screen, you see here, prokaryote. What is this again? Cell is up to cell is okay. What is a prokaryote? Yes, it's another interesting thing. Again, because microbiology is itself an interesting one. You know why? We are studying about the things and objects or the organisms which we cannot see. We can feel. I think most of you people are very anxious and they are very curious to study about natural forces like ghost and something like God and goddess. They not even see, we cannot see them, but we are very curious. The same manner, microbiologists are very curious of learning microorganisms. What is this prokaryotic cell? What is a prokaryotic cell? And our researchers researching about a prokaryotic cell, and they have come up with yes, what is a prokaryote? It's already written here in a Greek. Pro means before, carry-on means nut. Again here, see nut. Many of you know how the nut is. Nut. I think many of you have seen nut. Nuts. You can have an example of nut. For example, you have a groundnut. Nut means it's a seed. It's like a seed. And pro means before. What is this before? What is this before? Before here exactly means is another term before or pro from Greek to English. It's a ill. Means there is another term called as underdeveloped. There is another term called as underdeveloped. What is this underdeveloped? Yes. Here you have prokaryote means ill-developed. Carrion means here it's not exactly nut, which means here nucleus. Here means nucleus. You see here nucleus. What does it mean in that? When you see on this particular picture here, we have a cellular structure. This is a cytoplasm, flagella, fimbria, ribosomes, and everything. And here you have a nucleus. The nucleus which is present in this cell, which will not have a proper membrane, which separates the nucleus from the